The alert came in at 0312 ship standard, and it came in on a frequency I had not heard in the 4 years I had been running deep grid corridor surveys for the Terran Geological and Anomaly Response Division. It was not a distress call. The header made that clear in the first two lines. It was a Class 1 anomaly broadcast, auto-generated, no crew behind it. The source identifier in the packet tail was a buoy designation, Survey Perimeter Station Orvith 07, which meant nothing to me until I ran it through the vessel registry and found a record that was 304 years old. The buoy had been placed during the original Halvern-Terran Joint Deep Survey expansion. It sat at the edge of what was once a mapped transit corridor, seated with a suite of biosignature, mass displacement, and seismic sensors designed to flag anomalies in the pre-diaspora survey grid. According to the registry, it had been decommissioned in the administrative consolidation that followed the Halvern Compact's dissolution. Its frequency had been retired from active monitoring, except it had not been decommissioned, and the frequency had not been retired from Earth's monitoring suite. I know this because the alert was sitting on my secondary console, fully parsed, timestamped 14 seconds ago, green-bordered and marked priority forward. I sat with that for a moment. Then I read what the buoy had actually logged. Biosignature, bipedal, mass displacement reading, significant. Length along primary axis, 847 meters. I read that number 3 times. Then I ran the unit conversion twice because I'm not the kind of captain who makes decisions based on a single pass on unfamiliar data. 847 meters. The Ironside seam runs 61 meters keel, stern. The anomaly that had just walked through Orvith 07's sensor grid was 14 times the length of my ship. Bipedal, walking. Present tense. The buoy's last positional refresh had logged it still in motion, bearing south-southeast along the continental shelf margin at a rate of approximately 4 kilometers per hour. I called my navigator. Sova, how far are we from Survey Perimeter Station Orvith 07? There was a pause while she checked. 8 minutes at full corridor transit. 11 at survey approach. Full corridor transit, I said. Bring us around. She did not ask why. Sova Verith has been my navigator for 2 years, and she has learned that when I give a course correction at 0312, the explanation comes later. I come the Compact's Anomaly Response Coordination Desk at Sector Relay out of F3, which is the correct routing for a Class 1 biosignature event in this corridor. The desk officer was a Compact administrator named Pell Orvain, and I had spoken to him twice before on routine frequency test confirmations. He was professional, steady, the kind of desk officer who writes good incident headers. Ironside seam, Sector Relay out of F3, he said. Go ahead, Captain Orvist. I'm forwarding you a Class 1 anomaly broadcast from a Terran survey buoy, designation Orvith 07. I need a second read on the biosignature data, specifically the length figure. There was a longer pause than I expected. When he came back on, his voice had changed slightly. Not panic, just the particular stillness of a person who has read a number twice. Captain, the nearest compact anomaly response vessel is the Stead Ward Reach, currently 14 hours and 22 minutes from your log position. I am 8 minutes from Orvith 07, I said. I'm going in. Another pause. Captain, I want to be precise with you. The Ironside seam is classified as an armed geological survey vessel. A Class 1 biosignature event of this magnitude is outside your response charter. Noted, I said. I'm going in anyway. Open a relay channel and log this transmission. He opened it. I will give him credit for that. He opened it without argument, and he kept it open for the next 51 minutes. And that relay log is the reason there is a complete record of what happened rather than a 2-line sensor ghost notation in a decommissioned buoy's archive. We came over the shelf margin at 0320. My sensor officer, a quiet man named Rav Daseth, who had spent 11 years running geological scans for a mining consortium before he came to work for me, leaned back in his chair and said nothing for approximately 4 seconds. Then he said, Captain, I have it on gravitic mass imaging. Bearing 275. Range, 600 meters. I looked at the imaging display. The first thing I noticed was the scale reference. RAV always keeps a vessel silhouette overlay on the gravitic mass display. The iron side seemed rendered as a 61-meter white outline for proportion. The anomaly filled the display from upper margin to lower margin and still did not fit. He had already reduced the scale twice. The second thing I noticed was that it was walking. Steady, measured, unhurried. The mass displacement readout logged each footfall as a seismic event in the low magnitude range, regular as a clock, and the intervals between them were roughly 4 seconds. 4 seconds per stride, each stride covering approximately 40 meters. It was in no hurry. The third thing I noticed was that its heading had not changed. It was not turning toward us. It was not accelerating. Whatever Orvith Null 7's sensors had logged, whatever the iron side seam's presence on its perimeter now represented, the entity ahead of us was categorically uninterested. We were not a threat, it was tracking. We were not a resource, it was moving toward. We were, by all available evidence, simply not relevant. I held our position at 600 meters and watched it walk. At 0331, it crossed the shelf margin and descended into deeper water. The gravitic mass imaging tracked it for another 6 minutes before the depth, and the water column degraded the signal past reliable resolution. The seismic log caught the last 3 footfalls as small, diminishing pulses. Then nothing. I sat in my chair for a moment. Then I called Pell or Vane on the open relay. Sector relay out of F3. Are you still logging? Still logging, he said. His voice was the same steady professional voice, but he had been quiet for 22 minutes, and I knew he had been watching the same sensor feed I was forwarding to his desk. I am marking the event closed, I said. The anomaly has departed the survey grid. No contact was initiated. No vessel damage. No crew injury. There was a pause. Captain Orvist, I want to ask you a direct question for the record. Go ahead. Was that a distress call? I looked at my secondary console, where Orvith Null 7's auto broadcast was still sitting, green-bordered, parsed, time-stamped. Class 1 anomaly. Not distress. The buoy had done what it was built to do, flag an anomalous biosignature crossing its grid, and it had done on a frequency that 300 years of administrative consolidation had failed to actually retire from Earth's monitoring suite, and the iron side seam had been 8 minutes away, and here we were. No, I said. It was a Class 1 anomaly broadcast. The buoy flagged a biosignature. I responded to the buoy. Another pause. And what would you have done if it had been a distress call? I thought about that for a moment. 847 meters. 14 of my ship laid end to end. Steady footfalls at 4-second intervals. Unhurried, uninterested. Moving through the water the way something moves when it has been moving through deep water for a very long time and does not expect to be noticed. The same thing, I said. He logged it without comment. I will give him credit for that, too. I filed the incident report at 0412 under the standard Class 1 biosignature heading. Event duration, 51 minutes. Crew response, standard anomaly watch protocol. Contact initiated by Earth vessel. No contact initiated. Response charter exceeded. Yes, and I noted it because I am not the kind of captain who buries that. Outcome. Entity departed the survey grid without incident. Recommendation. Orvith Null 7 should be logged as an active monitoring station in the Sector Adaveth Corridor Registry. The buoy had been running for 304 years on its original power cell, and its sensors were within 4% of original calibration. Whatever administrative record said it had been decommissioned, the buoy itself had not received the message, and I did not see a compelling reason to send it now. I added one further note at the bottom of the recommendation field because the Ironside Seams incident log is a formal record and formal records should be precise. The entity did not acknowledge our presence at any point during the event window. We were 600 meters off its port quarter for 11 minutes, and it did not alter course, reduce speed, or demonstrate any sensor behavior suggesting awareness of a 61-meter survey vessel in its vicinity. This is consistent with the hypothesis that the entity's operating scale renders vessels of our class functionally invisible to its attention, the way a person walking through a field does not track individual blades of grass. I want to be on record as finding this neither alarming nor humbling. We were there. We logged it. We stayed until it was gone. The buoy is still running. That is enough.